I thought that tonight I would speak only about how I met Grisha, the situation in which I met him, which was funny, and everything funny is good to be related to him, because he was a man with many depth, but also one of lightness and amusement, and that we shared. So I will try to let you know about that. Do you hear over there? Shall I do something else? Well, I met Grisha in 1964, and this was the year he came to Milan because his book, Ermine, Czernopol, was published. At that time I was living in Milan, I had a gallery, I was part of that brouhaha about letters and art, and what else can I say? You know, I must look at my note because so Milan was really the cultural capital of Italy, not of fashion like it is now. And there were many great publishers who have a very active life. And he came to present his book. I didn't know him. The book was published by Mondadori in a wonderful collection called La Medusa. And those books called La Medusa I remember very vividly. They were of a strong green. They had a little white window, and in it was very simple the title and the name of the author. And the line would say, I grandi narratori di ogni paese. And this, after the war, was very important for Italy, because it was the first time that methodically all the Greek shedevres published abroad that we didn't have during the time of the war were available. So this is where I read Faulkner and Hemingway and all that. And maybe I start thinking that it was wonderful that there were so many writers all over the world, and maybe my life would be mixed up with them. Then there was another new book of La Medusa was appearing. It was called Un Ermelino a Czernopol, which was already a strange title in its own, which means an Ermine in Czernopol. Where was Czernopol? Nobody knows. And the name of the author was also very strange, because it was Gregor from Rezzori. So why the hell this man is called Gregor? That's a Russian name. Why is he called von Rezzori? Rezzori is an Italian name. So the whole thing was incredibly puzzling for me. Because I was going to buy my volume of the Medusa. I was also helped by that in the fact that the book had a great resonance. It had been published in Germany, that I find out later. It won the Fontane Prize, which was a sort of booker of the time. And when he arrived in Italy, also had a success. And there were appearances in television, there were articles on the papers, and there were illustrations of those articles, of the interview and all that. And there was always a tall, very good-looking man, elegant, with a funny little smile. And I was puzzled, of course. He was really very attractive. So I read the book, and I was enchanted. He described a strange city, very remote, beautiful, and puzzling, like the autumn. The exoticism made me think a little bit of another town which was always in my dream, which is Constantinople, because from my mother's side, I am half Armenian. And of course they were in exile, and they spoke about the town a lot. So it had the same feeling that Chernovitz had in the book. Eccentricity, tenderness, sadness, and also fun. So for me it became a book very important. I found that analogy between the two. And then I found out that in an exuberant style, he had touched something that was always in my imagination. So I was hooked. I was hooked. Then one day I went to a big party given by the Feltrinelli. Feltrinelli is a family of people who made a lot of money with slumber, cutting wood. Lumber. Slumber is sleeping out. And they had a big house in the lake of Garda. This is a big, sad house, with that very heavy architectural turn of the century, where rich people had like in the French Riviera, but they had them on the lake of the north of Italy. There were many of those houses. But the house had a very somber reputation because it'd been occupied by Mussolini during the last years of the war. When Italy was divided in two, there was the Repubblica di Salò. Down there was the American and the English were trying to come up, and they did in the end, thank God. But at that time, that was a very strange Repubblica di Salò, and all the things in the paper and the radio were Villa Feltrinelli, and then a speech of Mussolini. So that house for us had this kind of strange resonance, not very pleasant. Now, 20 years later, the Feltrinelli, which were a young couple, and she was German and very active, she's still very active, Inge Feltrinelli, decided it was time to open the windows, send away the ghosts, and do a big feast. And in that feast, they invited the so-called literary or cultivated society of Milan, which is far away, it's on 1 hour and a half by car to go there. And a lot of famous authors, not necessarily their own. And so I went with my little dog, which I just had received from England, a little pug, which has been a great thing in the life of Grisha and myself, a point of cohesion. And there was a lovely shore, and also I was playing with my dog and throwing stones, and the dog was getting yapping and being very irritated because he couldn't find the right stone. So I was crouching in the water, my pretty dress was completely wet, I mean a disaster. And I felt someone in the back, and he said, "Oh, yeah, we must, nous devons l'aider, we must help him." And that was Grisha, you know, I started Rezzori in the flesh, you know, he was there. And he said, "Now we're going to do something." He started walking in the water, it was very elegant, beautiful shoes, all that, he didn't care. And he found the stone, and the little dog was absolutely delighted. It was his own pebble. So that created the bond between us. And, well, I have to tell something about the Feltrinelli. Some year later, he became a great sympathizer of the Bader miner, that rich boy. Rich and talented. And he went into, how do you say when you go in
underground.
Undercover. He went undercover. Thank you. And then he had a great idea of himself like being a man, a working class person, that he wasn't, of course. And he tried to blow up a pole who was giving electricity to all the town of Milan, but he was not very good as an electrician, so he blew himself up. And so that's the end of Feltrinelli. But not of the publishing house, because they went on and they did wonderful things. In fact, before he did all that, he had published, he had managed to get Zhivago, Dr. Zhivago, means Pasternak, out of Russia, and did the world right for it. Then he published Il Gattopardo, you know, The Leopard by Lampedusa, and then Il Giardino di Finzi Contini. How do you say that? The Garden of Finzi Contini. The Bassani was the director of the house. So that's one side of the affair. The other side of the affair is that we had an affair, a roaring affair, me and Grisha. And then we got married, and we went to live in Tuscany. And this is a really very happy end. I don't have to add anything to that. But that episode somehow is linked to me to the Ermine. That's why I made this long divagation. And now the Ermine became a classic all over the world. But it had a very unlucky situation in America because it was translated maybe 50 years ago, I don't know exactly, in a terrible way. And Grisha got so upset because he was a linguist, he spoke very well English and he didn't control anything, so the book was pulled out. And so thanks to the New York Review of Books and Edwin Frank, which is not here tonight, and the wonderful translation of Philip Byrne, the book is now here. So it's a big event for me, really big. I'm only very sad that Grisha is not here to hear his friends reading his words. He would be really very happy. But we will read it.